All right, what's up? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Chris, and this is Barn on 11970. And as always, I really do appreciate those willing to take the time to listen to what I have to say, and I hope you are having a great day. This is just another one of those videos that had things on my mind, and I want to share it with those who resonate with these kind of situations. I was reading some of the comments, and I love the majority of the comments that people write. Overall, the comments that people leave are very positive. The people that generally come here really want to make change. But one of the things I noticed in some of the comments is that it's amazing how many people have been trying to talk to the general public for years. And now this gentleman that left a comment saying that they were trying to tell people about rigged elections for over 50 years. And to me, I can understand 50 years ago. We had no internet. There were, 13 channels at most on the TV? There were just past World War II, so there was a lot of, patriotism at that point. The economy was doing well. So I can understand why people wouldn't even bother to even care about a rigged system, because pretty much, for the most part, people were happy. And you notice when things start getting more and more challenging, where our freedoms are being taken away from us little by little, where the financial situations are getting harder and harder and people are struggling, more and more people start to want to learn why this is happening. And that's where a lot of people get their awakening. Because I sincerely doubt that anybody that's watching my channel, or for the majority, any of the quote-unquote truther kind of channels, are multimillionaires. And I can imagine that if anybody here struggling all of a sudden won the lottery and they won $50 million, they probably wouldn't care about this as much anymore. And I can tell you honestly, if I won the lottery and that was the case, I'd probably be like, you know what? It wouldn't be worth it anymore, and I'd probably move on too. I mean, that's the honesty. So this comes from a place of struggle. Now, more and more people in history, when the riots and civil wars and revolutions happen, it's usually because the majority of things get taken from you to the point where you have no choice. But before that time, people always have the people that are kind of warning them of what's coming. But while things are going good, people tend to ignore it. We come to a time where we have the internet, where pretty much any bit of information is a click away. And I've had times where I've made videos where I will post a link and say, okay, just check this. Because I've told people, research certain things, like Executive Order 11110, the Coinage Act of, I think it's 1792. I could be wrong about that. But Project Bluebeam, Agenda 21, there's so many different things, and people don't want to check into them. And that's why I've changed it, because over the years I've said, and many people said, oh, the people are sheep and they're asleep. At this point, the best choice of word is willful ignorance. And like you see on the screen, it says the power of willful ignorance. We allow things to become worse when we choose to look the other way. And I know this is never going to be popular. And people ask me all the time, it's like, Chris, why do you do this stuff? Hardly anybody pays attention. The message doesn't get out because evil corporations like YouTube, and you can do it on Facebook, it's the same thing, on Twitter, it's the same thing. They try very hard to block these things. Why do you bother? I bother because, to me, I feel it's the right thing to do. Almost to the point where it almost seems like an obsession in a way. Good or bad, it works for me. And it's so sad when people like myself, and there are plenty that come here that see these things, they see the writing on the wall, that what the masses do will affect us all. And that's why I think it bothers a lot of people in this community that the majority of people just don't care. And they know that, for example, smoking is bad for them, and yet they continue to do that. They know that if you watch any commercial for any kind of drug, the side effects are almost to the point where it's a joke. and yet people will still put these things willfully in their body. We see the corruption in the media to the point where it's almost laughable, and yet we allow it to continue. And my question is to anybody out there, why do you think we all allow these things to continue? Is it really because we truly feel we don't have the power? I mean, it's something that I am very curious to find out about. Because if you look at what's going on with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and even to a certain extent Obama, if we don't see the writing on the wall, how do we change things? And no hidden intention says you don't smoke? Nope, never have, never will. Little brief story on that. I tried to smoke once. My father used to smoke 4 packs a day at one point. And I remember 10 years old, he left a cigarette. I guess he kind of put it out, but didn't really put it out, and walked outside. So as a little kid, I wanted to see, actually, no, I wasn't even 10. I was probably about 8 or 9. I wanted to do what my father was doing, picked up the cigarette, the little bit that was left, and inhaled it, and coughed for about 20 minutes and said I'd never want to do another one again. So, no, I don't smoke at all. But to get back to the thing, and people, if they want to ask questions, we have the live chat and everything like that. When it comes to this whole media with Hillary Clinton, I mean, you look at Hillary Clinton. If you watch certain videos, you'll see that there are times where she's speaking. All of a sudden, she looks like she's having a mini seizure, where all of a sudden her eyes just blank out and her face freezes. And there's pictures where she can't even stand. And they are basically at the point now where they've invested years of setting people up. Because I made a video 9 months ago, and you could check it out. It's under the playlist of Hillary Was Chosen All Along. That I said, due to the fact that so many movies and comic books and things are becoming female empowered, I knew over 9 months ago, without even watching any of the electoral thing, because I was back then doing my comic book channel, that it was all about setting people up to be prepared for a woman to be president. And they've invested so much in this that even at the point now that she's getting sicker and sicker, to the point where there are Secret Service men who are actually potentially could be doctors that are pretending to be Secret Service men around her, because they show images of one gentleman that follows her all around that has one of those seizure shots or something. I don't know about it because I've never had a seizure. I don't know what that's all about. If you do, you could post it in the comments section. But they're almost like to the point, it's like, listen, we have to have her in because either her illness will stop her from being president, Bill Clinton's illness will stop her from being president, or her indictment will be stopping her presidency. And if she never swears herself in, even if she is quote-unquote elected, then Obama has an excuse to have a next term. So I think that's the first plan. The backup plan is if they can't go through with this for whatever reason, because, I mean, if Hillary is getting to the point where she passes out every time, if it gets to that point, I mean, unless they attach her to strings and make her into a full legitimate puppet, they might have to go the second route, which would be as soon as Hillary wins, the people get the people rioting because Trump never got a chance. And they've been trying so hard with this. And the problem is, if you ignore things, I think the majority of people ignore things because they feel it makes them safe. Like they say, ignorant, what is it? What's the saying? Give me a second. Oh, ignorance is bliss. That took a second. Sorry about that. I was trying to think of so many different things. Now, I've used this example before, but let's say there's a husband and wife, and they fight all the time. But they love each other, and they think they're going to spend the rest of their lives with each other. And let's say they go out to go for a drink, and they get into a huge fight, and the wife decides she wants to murder her husband. So they both have a drink. They put the drinks down. Let's just assume they're, whatever, rum and cokes. And they put them down on the bar. The husband says, I got to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Now, obviously, he's going to leave the drink there because he trusts his wife. And while he's gone, the wife drops some kind of poison in his drink, thinking nobody sees it. And some strange guy witnesses this. And when the husband comes back, the wife says, "Oh, I got to use the bathroom now. I'll be back," and disappears. And the stranger goes up to the guy and says, "Listen, I just want to let you know that I saw that woman put something in your drink. I don't know what it is, but I wanted to let you know." And the husband looks at the guy, says, "You know, that's my wife. She would never do something like that. You must be mistaken. You know, get the hell out of here." And the guy tries to convince him, and the more he does, the more the guy is like, "Listen, we're in love. Yeah, we get fights in every now and then, but there'd be no way she would ever be even capable of doing that. Get the hell away from me. I don't believe you." And finally pushes the guy away. Now, if he drinks that drink, even though he did not believe what he was warned about, do you think that will save him if she legitimately did pour poison into his drink? So ignorance is not bliss. And the problem with that is, you see the media trying to cover it up so much. They will put on Broadway plays, WWE kind of style wrestling videos when it comes to our entertainment of the political parties. They're putting on a show. They really are friends. And somebody pointed out that my video, the last one, I showed a clip of Donald Trump saying that speech 8 years ago. Yes, because if he said it 8 weeks ago, people would remember it. And then they would say, wait a minute, why is he saying all these bad things when just 8 weeks ago he was saying nice things? You have to go back a ways because they know the majority of people will not go and check. And it's far enough away to the point where most people wouldn't even know about it unless you pointed it out. And that's why you could see my video is going to get very few views. But it's not going to change, because if these things do happen, and I'm saying if, because I can't guarantee any of these things will happen, but if they do happen, by the time you realize it, and I'm talking you as in the majority of people in the world, it will be too late to do anything about it. Because, like I said, Donald Trump's purpose is to get you to wave your flags, to get you to think there is this time going to be legitimate change. I mean, do people have such a short memory to remember how people were crying in the streets when he became president? Do people forget that? And how he was going to save us from evil Bush? And George Bush was evil. You know, it's not a race thing, because I hate Obama because he's not helping us. I hated Bush because he wasn't helping us. I hated Clinton because he wasn't helping us. They don't help us. That's why they are all millionaires. They are paid quite well and protected from us common people. You know, that's why they call us the regular people or the little people. And for some reason, we're okay with that. And that's why, like, getting back into like the comics and everything, one of the reasons why I used to love Spider-Man, and I'm sure many people do, is his origin story and how he started. Because if you don't know it, and I'll explain it because it will be relevant to this, so it will make sense, and that's why I'm glad for a brief time I went back to comics for a little bit, because I can use these as references. When Peter Parker was first bitten by the spider, he didn't become Spider-Man right away. He didn't try and just save people. He was a teenager that all of a sudden got these powers that he didn't know what to do with. And growing up in a poor family, because his parents supposedly died, and he was living with his Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and they were very poor. So he wanted to try and find a way to make some money to help. And in the beginning, he didn't know what to do with his power. So he saw an advertisement as he was walking down the street for wrestlers. And if you beat this certain wrestler, you would get, I think, like either $300 or $500 in cash. And especially, you know, back in the 60s, $500 in cash, that's almost like $10,000 these days with the purchasing power, which shows how great our money is really headed in the right direction, he said sarcastically. So he ends up going and wrestling, and he wins. Let's just assume it was $500. So Peter Parker wins the $500. And he goes backstage to collect the money. And the manager in charge of the whole event doesn't pay him even close to the $500 he promised. Basically giving Peter Parker an attitude saying, you know, that's showbiz. And I think he gave him maybe $25 or $50. The amount is irrelevant. He basically didn't give what he promised to the point where he pissed off Peter Parker. And he stormed out. And as he's storming out and heading to the elevator, all of a sudden there was a bank robber that robbed the manager, that just basically screwed Peter Parker out of his money. So as the robbery happens, the criminal runs towards the elevator that Peter Parker was about to enter. And the manager is screaming, "Stop that man, stop that man." And because Peter was so pissed off at what the manager did, he let that criminal go, saying it wasn't my concern, it wasn't my business. He looked the other way. He chose to be willfully ignorant of the situation because he said, it's not my problem. Well, if you know how Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man, the superhero, is they find out later on, and it's different from the Spider-Man movie, that that very criminal ended up breaking into Aunt May and Uncle Ben's house, murdering Uncle Ben, Peter Parker's uncle. And that is when the term came up, with great power comes great responsibility. And ever since that time, he realized that sometimes your inaction could change your world and turn it upside down, because you don't see further than what's happening in front of you. And that is a big lesson for people to learn about, oh, it's not my fight, or oh, I don't want to get involved. Because if Peter would have stopped that criminal at that point, that criminal would have never had the opportunity to end up murdering his uncle. But if you look at it from a bigger picture, he would have also probably never became Spider-Man. So if you see sometimes a bad situation, good things can come out of it, you could see two different sides to this coin. And there are so many times where people will say, you know, things are inevitable. Like they talk about prophecies and fortunes and all that stuff. Those things only hold true if you believe them to be and you do nothing to change them. It's the whole butterfly effect. Which means the littlest things can change the world. Because just imagine if you knew anybody that got into a car accident and died. And I hope you don't. But let's say maybe you know somebody that does. Or you've heard of people getting into a car accident and dying. Now just imagine if one of the people that was supposed to be in that car accident normally puts his keys by the lamp by the door. And that particular day, somebody moved those keys. And it took him an extra 5 seconds to walk and get the keys, delaying him leaving just 5 seconds. And then the rest of the day ended up the same. They would have missed each other and never impacted each other. And who knows what that new path would have created. So people don't realize how powerful life is and how things can change by not only your activity, but your inactivity. Inactivity is what they want. That is why the media and the government and all of them, they try and get you to be afraid. Because when you're afraid, you stand still. You ever see a possum when they're afraid? A possum plays dead. Now just imagine a possum in the middle of the road playing dead. Do you think that's going to help them? It's going to help them to get run over. So people need to understand that choosing to be willfully ignorant because whatever is happening is not affecting you at the moment does not mean it will not affect you in the future. And the more they can convince you that, oh, I'm just one person, I can't do a thing, the more they can prevent millions of people from realizing that fact all at once, creating an unstoppable force. If somebody drops one drop of water on your head, it's going to do nothing. If they drop 10 drops of water, they can do nothing. They might even drop 10 buckets of water, and it might make you soaked, but it's not going to do anything. Take an ocean worth of water and throw it on you, and watch how quickly you drown and disappear. And the ocean is nothing more than individual drops of water connected to one another. There is a reason why they want you to be distracted and entertained. Why do you think they put all that free porn on the internet? Because if you're watching that and you're not studying about what's going on, you are distracted and you can't do anything. And then you'll get the people who want to research, but there are so many people lying, so many people sending you down fake paths, so many people misleading, that eventually you get frustrated. Or then you'll hear, oh, people get murdered all the time that speak the truth, and they'll show plenty of examples of people that you think got murdered. You'll think, oh, I don't want to say anything. My life is, it's not as great as I want, but at least I can put food on my table. I don't want to rock the boat. Well, if you're on that boat, and we are all on that boat, you're going to sink with the rest of us. So if we choose to continue to be willfully ignorant because maybe we get paid to look the other way, or maybe we make too much fiat currency, you can have $1 million worth of their debt notes, and if one day those debt notes no longer have their value, and it's not impossible, all you have to do is research history, then you have 1 million pieces of paper. And if you have nothing else, and that currency no longer has the purchasing power it once had, what are you going to do? And again, this is not based on fear. If you watch my videos, and you've watched more than 5 of them, you would know that I don't speak from fear. And even if there is fear, not all fear is bad. It is a motivator. Because if you go back to the Peter Parker reference, yes, his uncle got killed, and yes, that is a bad thing. But because of that tragedy, he learned his responsibility of what never to do again, and became a hero and saved thousands of people. So it's almost the sacrificial lamb. So the idea is, the more you are aware of situations, the more you trust your gut, the more you release the fear, the less harm can come your way. It's when you allow yourself to be controlled, what you're doing is saying, here's my power. I'm giving it to you in hopes that you will do the right thing. Now, if it's a friend or a family member, that's, even friends and family can screw people over. But we're giving our power to all governments. And I'm not just talking about here in the United States Corporation. I'm talking about all the other corporations around the world, whether it be Canada or Mexico or Japan or Russia or England, Israel, whatever. We are saying, here, government people, the people that represent us, the people who are constantly lying to us, who are constantly dishonest, and who are constantly breaking the laws but yet never get punished, even though we do. You're saying, here's my energy. I'm giving it to you willfully. Please do something good with it. I will trust you with my life, my family's life, and everybody I care about's lives, and even the people I don't care about. Think about what we are doing with our willful ignorance. And the sad thing is, the people that are listening to this are not those people. It's the ones that come here to troll, or it's the billions of people who will never even know this channel even exists, let alone this video. And they will always find out the hard way. Because, like I've said on several occasions, if you research the 13th Amendment in this U.S. Constitution, it talks about the legal description and legal definition of the term called slavery, which they legally define as involuntary servitude. So if you do something voluntarily, then the 13th Amendment, the Constitution, will not protect you. And I keep saying this all the time. You could say all you want. Oh, well, we got to vote. We got to vote. That's perfectly fine if you want to believe in something that doesn't work. If you want to fill your gas tank with water, it will fill it up, but it won't do anything good for your engine. So it doesn't matter how much you believe. Well, look, it's filling the tank. Look, the meter is going from empty to full. It sure is, but it's not doing anything beneficial. Because the majority of people, and thanks to our governments and our media and our school system, they will not educate you when you talk about, it's either the 14th or the 15th Amendment. They legally define the word citizen. And that is why when you get a driver's license or any government document, or you go register to vote, the first thing they ask is, are you a U.S. citizen? And because they don't put a gun to your head, you are doing it from your own willful servitude. They're not forcing you. You become part of the corporation known as the United States, which is a registered trademark name registered in Washington, D.C. They have 2 delegates, and I've said this before. The problem is, most people don't want to get involved because their life is going just well enough to where it doesn't suck. The problem with that is when it gets to the point that it does affect you and your life now does suck, there's nothing you can do because everything has been already taken away. So the idea is to stop that from happening. If you're laying on a train track and people have said, oh, this is an abandoned track, there's never been a train on this train track, you will never get run over, just lie there, you'll be fine, it's a great location. And then all of a sudden you hear a train sound in the background. They say, oh, pay it no mind, that's on another track. Or you're just hearing things. They can convince you. And then all of a sudden you see in the distance a train coming. It's like, oh, that's just an optical illusion. There's a train track that goes about a mile away from here. What you're seeing is actually an image due to the distance and the elevation of the sun's rays, and they can make it sound so amazingly true. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a mirage because the steam is coming up, it's creating an image, and it makes it appear to look like something it's not. Oh, that makes sense. Thank you for explaining it to me. There's really no train. I trust you. And then by the next time you realize that that really is a train, and it really is on that track, and it's really heading towards you, you have a chance to say, oh, shit, before it hits you. So my channel, and I'm sure many others, I can't speak for anybody else, I can only speak for myself, at least what I do, is to try and keep people from doing that and saying, get the hell off those tracks. Governments throughout the world, I mean, and I can't speak for any other country, but here with our Constitution, and I keep emphasizing the word con, is the consent of the governed, and we keep consenting through our silence, through our ignorance, because we still think to this day the voting system is done properly, even though we're getting all of this confirmation of all these scams. What is it going to take for people to wake up? It's just, and that's why I get frustrated sometimes. It's almost like there are times where it's like, and I show many people feel this way, it's like, why do we bother? I guess, and again, I can't speak for anybody else, I do it because I care about more than just myself. I don't know why. At this point, considering I get so much hate and so much ignoring, but it's just, I feel like at least it's doing my right thing. And I wish more people would do it. And the sad truth is, the majority of people, by the time they react, it will be because an event happened where they have no choice. The people that come here and watch other videos and have been prepared for years are going to have a lot less harder time. It's not going to be like everything's going to be easy, but it's going to be a hell of a lot easier if you're not one of the millions of people that are going to rush to the stores to try and get whatever food they can get their hands on. If you already have it, you don't have to worry about that. You won't have to be one of those people that's going to protect their own property from other people. For those people that say, oh, you shouldn't have guns because they're evil. Guns aren't evil. The people who pull the trigger in an evil way are the evil parts. The gun is just a tool. I mean, remember what happened in France just a few short weeks ago. A guy in a truck ended up running down, I think it was like over 80 people. Should we outlaw trucks? Because that truck was used as a weapon. It wasn't an accident. They purposely used that truck to drive into an area where there were a massive amount of people to purposely run them over. So does that make the truck evil? You don't notice any government or any politician saying we need to now ban trucks. But if that would have been a gun, we got to get rid of it because it's an evil weapon. Look at it did murdering people. So as usual, I always appreciate everybody that takes the time to listen. The fact that there are 20 people in this world that are watching right now that care, to me, that I guess that's as good as it's going to get, and that's fine. But I am going to continue to try and help people because it's the right thing to do. And I hope more and more people try and do this, because you may be comfortable. You may be having a life right now where you don't want to rock the boat. But if some of the scenarios that we've discussed happen, and there are bad situations that happen, first of all, just because it's bad doesn't mean it's going to be bad for everybody. Remember, in the Great Depression, there were more millionaires that came out of the Great Depression than any other time in U.S. history. Why? Because the people at the top that created that bubble, convincing people that you have to get into the stock market because look how high it's going, who all sold at one point, creating a panic, when everybody was at rock bottom looking for the next penny to buy any kind of meal, they were buying up city blocks for pennies on the dollar. So there are people who can thrive. The people who pay attention to this stuff will most likely have the better chances of not only surviving but thriving when the reset happens. It's the majority of people that are going to suffer, and it's because of their choice to be willfully ignorant. But again, something positive can come out of it. So if you're not doing something, ask yourself why. What is the purpose? Why are you so afraid? I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If our government or any government throughout the world was doing a great job where the economy's going better and there are jobs all over the place and people are happy, the reason the crime is going up higher and higher is because when you get to the point where you try for a job and you can't find it and you can't pay your bills and you have a couple of kids that need food, you are going to do whatever it takes. I'd hate to think that majority of people are just lazy. There are over 110 million Americans on welfare. Do you think all 110 million of them are just trying to scam the system? Trying to take advantage of a free ride? Or do you think it's because the economy has been so bad and people legitimately can't get jobs that they need to do that just to feed their family and survive? Do you want a world where you just have enough to get by, just have enough to survive? Or do you want a world that we can actually all live and actually thrive as one? And as Gary Weldon says, Wedderburn says, most people don't want to rock the boat because it may tip it over. But if we are in the water, it's not so much water our issues. Yeah, they don't want to rock the boat. But if the boat's going to sink, better to be on a lifeboat. The problem is, we're on the Titanic. And it doesn't matter if you're in first class, second class, third class, no class, whether you're a stowaway or not. The ship is sinking. And if you just get on another boat, it's just going to sink a little bit later. The idea is, if you know ahead of time that there's an iceberg, you're going to do everything in your power to let them know, listen, turn the other way. And if it wasn't an iceberg and it really was a submarine launch of a missile that sunk the Titanic, well, you'd be quick to get on one of those lifeboats, even if it's an hour before the ship sinks. People might laugh at you. People might think, what the hell is this person doing? You're on a luxury cruiser. Why the hell are you leaving on that little boat? They'll find out. Rogue Spirit said, my brother just moved to Germany. Okay. I hope that's a good thing. But Rocksteady says, hey, I'm listening from Germany. 777 says, hello all. Yep, and I appreciate that. I'm glad that people are listening. Unfortunately, I'm just not going to get the views, and that's fine. But care. Do something. Don't choose to be willfully ignorant. It's going to bite us all in the end. It's like they say, if you don't research history, you're doomed to repeat it over and over again, and there's a cyclical pattern of the same thing happening over and over again. We keep falling for it. And Gary says, sorry, if we were in the water, we can all help from drowning is what I meant. Yeah, I understood what you said. But I'm going to end the video right now. Check out my other video I did earlier today if you get the chance. I hope the things I talk about are wrong. I don't want them to be right, because trust me, if you think I want to collapse, no. As much as I would love my gold and silver to skyrocket to the moon because of it, you know, that just means that millions of people are now going to suffer. I'd rather risk the losses of my physical gold and silver and all that stuff so we have a thriving economy. But it just, if we see over and over again the writing on the wall, the corrupt system, why are we joking about it? Why are we pretending it's not there? Why are we allowing it to happen? You know, if you're friends with a person that says they're a gunman, you just find out you're best friends since you were kids, and you find out as you're about to go party, he says, you know what, I'm so glad we've been friends for 20 years, I have a secret I want to tell you, as you're driving to some club. It's like, I have a gun, and I used to secretly shoot people, and I haven't done it in a while, and I need to do it tonight. I need you don't have to do anything, just don't stop me from murdering someone. And you two have been friends since childhood. And although this shocks you, you have two choices. You can call the police and stop him and have him arrested, or you could do nothing. And just imagine if you walk in that club with that friend knowing what his intentions were, and you say, oh, he's kidding, he's not going to do it. And you see him pull out a gun and say, oh, this is serious, but, you know, I don't think he's going to really pull the trigger. And he starts blasting away. And you could have prevented it, and you chose not to. Now you are just as responsible for the deaths of those people. Is it bad that that person did it? Absolutely. Is he the main reason? Absolutely. But if you chose to not believe it and not do anything to stop it, well, do you think that's going to make the families of the people who died feel any better? Knowing that you didn't pull the trigger, but you knew about it and you didn't stop them? Do you think they'd give you a free pass? Or do you think they'd hate you just as much as the person who pulled the trigger? But Rocksteady says, let me see where the comments are. Rocksteady, moving to Germany isn't a good idea at the moment. Things are getting ugly here pretty soon. Things are getting ugly everywhere. You know, people are finding out the hard way. I mean, you have over in Europe and a couple of places where banks have negative interest rates. That means you're giving them your money so they can loan it out to others for a profit, and instead of them giving you a percentage, you're paying them for that privilege to make more money off of you. And how many people still have money in the bank? Even though I've been warning people for years. You know, it's like living under an active volcano that hasn't erupted for centuries. You get that false sense of security that because it hasn't happened, it doesn't mean it can happen. And if it doesn't, that's wonderful. So if nothing happens, if you're living under an active volcano and nothing happens and you die an old man or an old woman, then that's great. But if one day it does happen to erupt, what do? So the fact that something happens is a million times worse than if it doesn't. And that's why I have no regrets with the gold and silver and everything and things like that and preparing. Because if I never used them, then that means the economy didn't turn to shit. But if it does, I have a protection. I have a backup plan. So I'm going to end the video right here. If you want to thumb it up, that's great. If you want to share it, that's even better. Check out my other videos, hit subscribe, and care. Don't be one of the people that is willfully ignorant. Do your best to awaken people, to let them see what's going on, and let them understand that they do have the power to change everything. Because evil thrives when good people choose to do nothing. And that's exactly what the majority of people are doing right now, just for their little bit of comfort. Well, that comfort's going to be taken away from them. And at that point, there's nothing you can do. And you'll say, oh, I didn't see it coming. No, you chose not to see it coming. So thanks for watching, everybody. I always appreciate those that want to listen to what I have to say. And you all have a great day. And keep spreading the truth. Peace.